This T-square right here is set up so that I can have a relative position for my golf ball, which I like left ear for a right-handed golfer. And if I can keep my ball position consistent as far as left ear is concerned, I have a chance to complete this cycle and make this thing work the way I want it to. So that would be in front of center. Now when I set up over the golf ball, and last week we did a piece on grip itself, and so we talked more about hand position then, and I'm not going to talk too much about it today, but we want to try to put my thumbs on the top side of the shaft and my knuckles on the bottom side of the shaft. And when I address that golf ball, my thumbnails are pointing toward the camera. When I go back from the beginning part of this stroke to the level position with that shaft, my thumbnails are pointing up in the air. And the face of the club is rotated open. Now, I do that instinctively and naturally, and I don't try to cause it to do one thing or the other by manipulating with my hands. I try to keep my hands constant, their connections, and the face of the club is the connection to the ball. And so I want to try to allow the shaft of the club to get to level and have the toe of the club relatively vertical at that point in time, with my thumbnails, more importantly, on the top side of the shaft. From that point, I just make my hinge of my left wrist. I tell the kids when we start that we make an L, we make a Y at address down both arms, including the shaft, and we turn that into an L. There's a lot of things that are going on right there, but I think it would be sufficient to say that that L sort of sets the tone for us to have a stroke that is moving in a direction that will allow us to connect to the ball. So I start with a Y and turn it into an L. And I'm basically done with my backstroke at that point in time. I can continue on, but that's when some of the trouble starts. So if we can stay short with the stroke and wide with the stroke by keeping hands away from the body, then we have a chance to create a pretty straight through path to the ball with an unobstructed position that will allow us to just shift weight, turn body, and let the face of the club square up at impact. So the beginning stages are feet as wide as the shoulders, ball location on my left ear for a right-handed golfer, hands are set with my thumbnails on top and my knuckles under, and then if I take it all the way to the top of my stroke, my thumbnails go out, up, at my sternum, and under finally the shaft. So my thumbs go from the top of the shaft to the bottom of the shaft at the end of my backstroke. The body is concerned, feet are the only contact with the ground, so we don't need to lift them completely off the ground at any point in time. Hands are the only contact with the club, and we don't need to change that in motion. And so if you were being paid for the stroke, you would be paid only to shift your weight, turn your body, and lag the club head. You don't get paid for body shifting, only weight shifting. So weight will shift over and it'll shift back over. We're going to end up with the club over the back shoulder on the way back and the club over the front shoulder on the way through. Back shoulder to front shoulder. Creates a circular motion on an angle because it's a side game. And so maybe the most important thing that I'll say today is that this side game action is just like a soccer kicker. They're going to approach from inside that ball and wrap their foot around that ball. That makes the ball go straight from the side view. The ball will go in soccer wherever their foot points. The face of their foot, if it's a right-handed foot or the inside of that right foot, will face where the ball goes when the ball leaves that foot. So if my foot is open at that point in time, it's going to go to the right of the uprights. If my foot is closed at that time, it's going to go to the left of the uprights. The same thing is true in a golf club. So the face of the club opens and closes around the ball, and I don't want to do anything with my hands that are going to cause me to try to manipulate that. I want it to work naturally and instinctively, no different than playing ping pong. Now, another way to envision the way these thumbs work is to take a coat hanger, to treat the bottom rung of the hanger like a grip on a golf club with this loop part that hangs on the pole. We're going to take that loop and we're going to put that hook of that hanger right back between the elbows. That lets us from this view make an L on the way back, with this being part of the L and my lead arm the other part of the L. So that's called a left wrist hinge in technical terms. But when we've got thumbs on top, knuckles under, I just make an L, and when I make that L, I'm loaded for bear. I've bent my right wrist, I've bent my right elbow, and I've hinged my left wrist. And that sets the tone for next week's discussion, which will be beginning the transition of the downswing.
Yeah.